So, hi everybody, how are we doing today?
Fine.
It's a nice Sunday. I kind of wanted to skip and just sit outside and listen to the birds. It's a very comfortable day. It's not bright and sunny. It's not too humid. It's a good day. Yeah. So let's all skip and go.
No, it's raining outside.
Huh?
It is raining outside.
It's raining?
Yes.
No, I find it funny because the next thing I'll say is, oh, it's regnant? And we have someone that knows what I'm saying. So yesterday I was in a conundrum. I didn't really know what to talk about. And as I was helping Jenry you out with some things, I was mulling through this, and I was like, what can I talk about? What can I talk about? And then I realized one of the things that I had been indirectly talking about for this ongo has been karma. So today we're talking about karma. And it's going to sound familiar because we're talking about some of the same topics as we did last week when we asked the question, where do you end? And the very last thing I wanted to say, but didn't say, because I had forgotten. It's like when I write my Dharma talks and I print them out, and it's just a straight text. And last week I had 3 papers. I printed out 3, but I only picked up 2. And there are 2 sentences on the last of the Dharma talk that I wanted to say about where do you end. And if you remember, in where do you end, I was asking questions of where do you think you are, and then showing you other examples of how you go beyond that. And the last 2 things I was going to say was, notice how all we are doing is talking about impermanence, karma. Notice how impermanence is nothing more than the relationships and interconnections, karma. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Impermanence, relationships, and interconnections. And I have an Oxford comma in there for legal purposes. I'm glad you got the joke. Because that's what I actually have that down there. Oxford comma for legal reasons. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, karma is nothing more than action. There is no good karma, there is no bad karma. There is just karma. You could say, and I'm saying it, karma is nothing more than just this is it. Karma follows you everywhere you go because it is you. Karma is your past and present actions affecting your future actions. I never really liked the Western theme of karma, and in the Western theme, well, I'm not really sure if it is an actual theme. One of the things that I've picked up on the Western side for karma is it's nothing more than justice. I mean, you have hundreds of videos displaying instant karma, where someone breaks the law and the police are right there to punish the trespassers. This is not karma. It's not karma in the sense of being cosmic retribution, as if there was some permanent way things are supposed to be, and because you broke that way and you got into trouble. But it's karma because there was an action. Usually in the instant karma videos, it's one of breaking the law or something happening immediately to punish them. And that action will impact the future. Like getting a ticket or wrecking your car. Is this making sense so far? Let me give you an idea of, here's what I really suspect here's a simple example that I view, or a couple examples I view of karma. And very simple, very straightforward. I used to work, when I used to work in the bar business, I would come home late, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I would be driving down the freeways of Dallas-Fort Worth at in excess of 90 miles an hour. Because in Texas, when it says 70, it's 90. Well, unbeknownst to me, I got pulled over. I went right past this police officer, he pulled me over. And he said outright, he said, I'm looking for people who are drunk. I'm not looking for speeding, but you were going way too fast. Gave him my license, the whole 9 yards. And he said, I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'll let you off with a warning. You haven't been drinking, have you? And I go, I work in a bar. It was obvious I worked in a bar because I had a tuxedo shirt on, bow tie, whatnot. And I said, yes, I work at a bar, but I haven't been drinking. I will be when I get home, though, because I never really liked dealing with police officers. They make me nervous. And so that was that. So I didn't get a ticket. There was none of this thing of retribution. Even though he was looking for drunk drivers and I worked in a bar. But for the next 6 months, every time I would go past the same area, I would slow down. Do you see how my actions are influenced by other actions? Karma. And notice, and let me give you another example that happened yesterday. Jinryu is here from Germany, and I took her around yesterday. We went shopping and we went looking for things, and we had a nice lunch. And the previous week, I was at a Costco, and I go, oh, she would like ramen. So I got 2 cases of ramen, 2 different types, but a boatload of ramen. Anyway, when I handed them to her, going into the back of my car, pulling them out, handing them to her, just the look in her eyes was just like, all this ramen, this is wonderful. And it didn't occur to me until I got home that was an episode of Full-On Frank. So let me explain Full-On Frank to you. Frank is my dad. Frank would give you a lot of things if you asked for them. One time he was going to the commissary, we're military. He said, do you want anything from the commissary? And I said, sure, get me a burrito. He brought back a case. One Christmas, Frank went full on Frank and bought us VCRs. But these weren't your normal VCRs. This was also in the 80s. These were VCRs with 4 heads on them, so that when you paused the video, it would be stable and wouldn't have those jiggly lines. Yeah, we had it rough back in the 80s. Anyway, that was Frank. He would do nice things for you, and it would be a lot. And my friend Sarah, one of the things that she would always say is, she'd say, yeah, you are your father's son. And I think that's a really good example of karma. It's an example of actions that I picked up from my father that affect me. And still, they continue on in other actions. Now maybe Jinryu will go full on Frank when someone comes visiting her and she buys things from Saturn or other big grocery stores. Or I only know, Saturn's the only store I know of in Germany. That and Aldi. But one of the things I was hoping you would notice and pick up on was that in my driving example and not getting a ticket by Northeast Mall,
I said that for about the next 6 months, I continued to slow down where that traffic was. 6 months. One of the wonderful things about karma is that there is impermanence. And because of that, karma changes. Again, there's no good or bad karma. There's just action. Now, some action we don't want, or we want to put ourselves into specific situations to incur those actions. I've never let me rephrase it. Let me restate this. We don't want to put ourselves into specific situations or to incur those actions. Like, I've never knocked over a convenience store because I never wanted to go to jail. There are certain things that I do that are to guarantee that I won't have to do something else. That in itself is a simple example of impermanence. A more complex example is I used to work in the bar business. I was 16 or 17 when I started working in bars, and that was a decent way for me to make money. It really was. And to go to college. It gave me the time to go to college. But I really disliked that. I really disliked being in that business. And the reason being is you saw the dark side of humanity very easily. I started seeing people as objects and not as people. I saw people being used and abused, and some of them were married to each other. And I will also say, besides the alcohol, there were the drugs. A lot of drugs. This was a situation that I did not like being in. It's been 34 years since, 34? No, it's been 32 years since I have worked in the bar business. And I can tell you every New Year's Eve, I'm pretty much on my knees thanking God I do not have to work on New Year's Eve. That was a very trying time. People tend to let their inhibitions go more freely, and they tended to be their natural selves more freely. And that was not fun. But it is impermanence. But within the karma of that situation, the karma that I carried with it, there is impermanence. This is going to be very telling and trying. Very telling. The last time I bought marijuana was 1987, May. Bought it, partook in it, and I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. Made me stupid. It prevented me from reading. It prevented me from driving. It's like, why do I want to do this kind of stuff? And so I ended up giving it away. At the time, $50 gone. I didn't care. But note here what I would just, note the aspects of what I was saying here. How the karma of reading and the karma of, oh yeah, school was very important to me. How the karma of school played an important part in me giving it away. It's, so it slightly changes. But in other aspects, it kind of sticks with you a bit. Anyone here remember my first Dharma talk that I gave? Don't go rushing to answer. No, the first Dharma talk I ever gave here, or I gave here, and as and the title of it. The Naked Dharma. I still have, I haven't worked in the bar business for 30 years, and it still affects me. I have a coworker. I sent him that, an old coworker that I sent him that link, the naked Dharma. I think it's a good story. It's about me being half naked, walking to work early in the morning, embarrassing aspects of it, but still there's a lot of Dharma to be learned from that. And so I was freely sharing it with my friends and former coworkers. And I had one former coworker that said he wouldn't watch the Dharma talk because if it's Mark and it has naked in the title, I'm not taking that chance. So look at the karma of me working in the bar business. And also when I say I worked in the bar business, I also worked in the gentleman's club business. My claim to fame is the guy that replaced me for one day beat up Billy, the baseball manager. Anyway, that was my only claim to fame, and it's not that big of a claim to fame either. There's an ethics basis to karma as well. What we choose matters. What we put ourselves through matters. What we go through matters, because everything we do affects us, changes us, and it's action upon action. So this brings me up to what the 100-foot pole. I have chosen as my koan the 100-foot pole. Suppose you're climbing up a 100-foot pole, you get to the top. What do you do next? Where do you take your next step? What are you going to do? Just this is it. We're at the top of the pole, and our decision is going to include our karma, but our karma also includes the whole 10-direction world. Being just this is it, right here, right now, there is no top of the pole. There's nothing more than the ever-expanding world. Take a step in any direction, and you're supported by the 10 directions. See, my point for this, and my point for the koan, is when you're at that top, when you're at the top of the 100-foot pole, you are the karma that you are. And That's who you are. And by making your choices, by making the choices, the next step, or putting yourself through certain situations, like me putting myself through the ongo, this is tough. I'm putting myself through something that matters. And in doing that, I am living my karma, and my karma is living me. It is directing my actions, but also as it changes into other actions. So one of the things that Dogen says in Shobogen Zuzui Monkey is that all you need to do to attain the way is have a good friend. That's changing your karma. For example, last week, I had a good friend who helped me change my karma by saying, do you really need to do drugs? No, I don't. I did them anyway. But that was enough to put a question into my head to stop it and to allow other things to come into being and to come into play, like books, reading, college, things that I valued. I didn't value pot. I valued knowledge. Oh, I have a sentient being friend over here. Karma is a lot like a dialect. There's your individual karma, the karma you develop through your own actions. There's the regional karma, the karma you develop by living in a specific area. I have a couple of examples here. Only one person will get one of them. There's soda, there's pop, and there's bubbler. That's going to depend on where you live. And for those who didn't get it, bubbler is a soda and from Wisconsin. Thunderstorms, for example. I love them dearly. I love watching them. I was afraid of them as a kid. My father locked me out of the trailer. We were in Montgomery, Alabama at SOS, Squadron Officer School. And ever since that episode, I've loved thunderstorms. And I've noticed some things about them since I moved here. Because everywhere I lived, I've always lived in a flat area. So you can see the storms for miles and miles and miles. Here out in the Midwest, it's even further. There was one time I stepped outside, I heard a roar of thunder, and it was bright, sunny, no clouds in the sky, and I went to the radar on my phone. Oh, there was a massive storm out by Peoria, 30 miles away. Because you're living in the Midwest, you have this depth that you can experience the storms in, and you can see more of them. In contrast, living out here, they say we're in the Midwest, but we're not. We have nothing but deciduous trees and hills. And so experiencing thunderstorms here is vastly different. I don't see the big bolts of lightning. I don't see the finger lightning going from the clouds to the sky. I can't even see the lightning going in between the clouds and the sky. All I can see is a reflection of the next apartment building in front of me. And it's radically different. But it's a different type of thing to experience. It generates different karma. There are other examples that, like, just by being regional. I think the most bizarre thing that I ever saw when I went to New York City was I would see people they'd be walking to work. They had, it was a female. she had her high heels like tied around and draped over her shoulder. She had two bags. She had a work bag with her laptop, and then she had a gym bag with all of her gym clothes. It's like, why doesn't she just go to the gym, come back, and then go home, and then go back to work? Oh, it takes her probably an hour or 2 hours to get to work, and the gym is next to work. There is a logistics to that that just confounds me, because I'm used to driving everywhere. I'm not used to living in a big city with skyscrapers and all that fun stuff. So it's a different regional karma. There's social karma. If you remember, the first thing that I did when my very first Dharma talk was said, how many of you have dreamt of being naked and at school? And there were several of you that rose your hands. And then the fun part was how many actually happened. I'm the only one. Great. But if you think about this, many different people had dreams about being naked at school or work. I just happened to have the wonderful benefit of actually happening. But where did we get this thing? Where did we get this aspect of all having the same relatable dream? Karma, within the society that we live in. There's even temporal karma. Karma based on time. One really good example is slang. We all have different words of slang. We all have different words of slang that we grew up with that has changed or that is currently changing. But my favorite example is I cannot watch one of my favorite TV shows, Barney Miller. When I was a kid, loved watching it from the 70s. Tried watching it again in the 90s. Actually, no, I tried watching it again in the 2008s, and I couldn't do it. Why? Because the times have changed so radically. One of the stories was that a wife had accused her husband of rape. And I remember it being a topical thing at the time. But there's such I don't know how to describe this other than there was such a disconnect between treating women as human beings and then social relationships. It's just, I can't watch it. And if you think this is just a story, when you really think of, if you think of this as just a story, try watching 007, James Bond, the first one, or the second one. I had to turn it off. It was horrible. And it wasn't horrible for the action or the adventure or all of that. It was horrible in the sense that he was treating women wrong. And it's vastly different in today's, but still kind of eh. But my point to all of this is there's karma in time. The things that we find acceptable changes. And the things that we deal with change. So, what have we learned? Karma is not justice, it's just action. Because of impermanence, everything changes. And karma is changing. Karma is who we are. We are becoming. Karma ties us to the 10-direction world in many ways, personally, socially, and temporally. Thank you.
Are there questions, comments, reflections on Myogen, starting with folks in the room? Anything folks would like to ask, say, offer? Please.
Yeah, thank you for your talk, Myogen. Karma is something very interesting. You pointed out very helpful for me that it's something sometimes we experience and sometimes something we do. Sometimes it's something we inherit from our parents or surroundings, and then sometimes it's something our own action and our own responsibility. And I sometimes find it hard to distinguish between this. Sometimes things happen and they are so difficult, and so not to take them personally. Like my partner, I've lost my partner 6 months ago, and I look back and I see that I not always acted skillfully, and so it feels like a punishment. And I know on one side it's not true, it's impermanence. People, they get born and they have to go. But looking back, sometimes we wish we had done things differently. And this feels more like a chance than a punishment. And so I would like to ask, how do we deal skillfully with difficult experiences?
The best way we can. And the best way we can. I mean, and even if that's coming to it and remembering, karma is not punishment. There's no good or there's no bad. There's just what we have there, right there. And that includes dealing with the incidents that we don't want to deal with. I had an incident at a coffee shop to where I decided to switch coffee shops because I did not want to be around that person and I wanted to give them time to cool off. I have no idea what happened. I went there one time. I went there one day to address it. I used the fact I had shaved my head, so I was not recognizable. And so I was able to go up, introduce myself, and then try to rectify the situation. And when I was doing it, I was a nervous wreck. Why? I have no idea. This was just me trying to do something good and trying to rectify something if I could. And they basically shot me down, and I still go to a different coffee shop. But when I was doing that, I was living full on in myself. I was shaking, I was nervous, I could barely speak. But that was who I am. And that's all the karma that I have. That's everything that who I am. Addressing it and dealing with it in the best way possible I can. And right now, it's just turned into a childish, I'm just going somewhere else. And the good thing about this is it's going to change. You deal with your situations, they're not going to be the same way. When you're dealing with these situations, you're not going to deal with them in the same way the next time. Because the karma changes, and it changes you too. One of the things, I said what Dogen said in the Shobogenzo Monkey. You just need a good friend, a good Dharma friend. And one of the things that I have found is this place has helped me out so much. I don't want to move away. I don't want to leave this place because it's turned me into somebody else that I never thought I could be. Sure, I still have my bar business predilections. I was just at I went to Upland for the first time since I've lived here. And for everybody who doesn't know, Upland is a brewery. I was sitting at the table going, why am I so happy? Why do I like it here? And then I smelled the beer. I went, oh, okay. I have a certain predilection for beer. One of the things that habits I developed. One of the habits that I developed when I worked in the bar business was my job was to clean ashtrays and pick up empty glasses of beer. When I would get done for the evening, my hands would smell like wet ashtrays and stale beer. And these are horrible, horrible things to smell. But when I smell them, I get nostalgic. I think back to my teenage years, my very first job, and all the wonderful times that I had there. But that's going to change too. Next time I probably come across a wet ashtray, my reaction is not going to be the same. Or stale beer. Well, you never know. But, make sense?
Thank you.
Other questions in the room?
Jeff?
Thanks again. I think I benefited a lot from your the way you define karma. But could you put that view of karma in the context of this simple living by vow and not by karma?
Well, I've kind of alluded to it in the sense of just we put ourselves through certain situations. We force ourselves through them. And that's one of the things we do when we live by vow. We choose to go a direction, and we choose not to live by the karma. I live by that karma. So for example, in a sense, when I worked in the bar business, I had no idea what to do for a living. I was 10 before I realized there was something other than the military. If someone said, oh, he's a lawyer, oh, what branch of the military, right? When I worked in the bar business, I was asking people what they did for a living, because maybe I could do something like that. And what was your question again?
Vow, living by vow, not by karma.
Oh yeah, living by vow, not by karma. Well, and you could look at what I was doing as getting out of the bar business, trying to get away from it. So I could have, I didn't explicitly have a vow. Well, yes, I did. I'm going to college, I'm going to graduate, and then I'm going to go to grad school. That was the plan. That's what I wanted to do. And I did not want to get stuck living in the bar business for the rest of my life. And when you're not really knowing when you really don't know what to do, or what you want to do after you graduate college, it gets to be a horrible, horrible calling, so to speak. And so I was lucky in that I got got sponsored, I got a TA-ship, and I was able to get out. And I was very close to getting back in when I came back, but I didn't. So that is a vow. I put myself through all that crap, just so I could graduate. If I was living by karma, it would come back to just working in the bar. I have money, I'm okay here. I don't pay much in taxes, who cares? Make sense?
I've always found living by vow and living by karma that to be a sort of an encouraging teaching, right? It means we have agency. It means we don't have to get pulled around by the things that have already happened, so we get to make a choice and we get to be intentional, as you say.
Well, and that's one of the benefits of zazen. It helped, I mean, I have a very, very hard time understanding my feelings and my emotions. And so as a Zen priest and practitioner, I do what I can to look at those. And by looking at those, it gives me some space. And that space means that I'm not dictated to by those things.
Yep, that's the space for your vow, right? Other questions, comments in the room?
Thank you for your talk.
You're more than welcome.
Do you think Dharma's a good teacher?
Bodhidharma? Yes.
He's dead.
Well, what do you think?
I think it is. But I'm asking you.
I know, and I'm trying to waste time.
Turn the table.
No. Is Dharma a good teacher? Well, only for those who are wanting to learn. And also, I will also say, someone who is not stuck in the schoolroom, so to speak. Because you can be stuck in the schoolroom, constantly learning, no sense of application of the Dharma. Or, you're wanting to learn. The Dharma is a good teacher, but also at the same time, you're not getting stuck by being in the schoolroom, you're living in the world. It is the 10 direction world that we are.
Thank you.
I don't know, I spent my whole life in classrooms and that's the real world for me.
And look how we turned out.
Well, actually, I thinking of karma of late, because I just learned yesterday that a person I knew from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, a full blood, is in a Terre Haute federal penitentiary. And the backstory is that he and his cousin, and he's just a little kid when I met him. He's still a teenager, I think 18, 19. He and his cousin were drinking and playing with a gun, and he accidentally shot and killed his cousin.
Yeah.
He certainly didn't intend to do that, but now the karma of that is he's in a federal penitentiary.
Mhm.
For how long, I don't know, but that's a difficult situation. In the meantime, I'm having a discussion in a Buddhism chat room of which I'm an administrator on the precept of not killing. And the problem with that is that we're all like natural born killers because we have to eat to survive, and unless you're going to live on berries, nuts, and fruits and whatnot, you're going to have to kill in order to eat. So there seems to be the karma of killing in order to live.
Mhm.
We just talked about vows a moment ago. Vows can be a way of living in a way that is beyond karma. That seems to be what was just said. And I like that idea. I mean, the idea of intentionality might be a way of transcending karma to some degree, but there's still sort of the reality of living in a world in which everything we do is karma
Mhm.
and has karmic consequences. So you want to elaborate on that some?
That's another Dharma talk.
Oh, well, put it in your notes and I'll do it next time.
Okay. I don't get the gist of your question.
Well, I guess it could probably distill down to this. Is it possible to be karma-free?
Oh, no.
Okay, I would agree with that.
No.
So Buddha, in his enlightenment,
Mhm.
he doesn't transcend karma at that point. But nirvana, at least in the Theravada tradition, seems to imply a transcendence of karma.
Mhm. You can still imply a transcendence of karma, and you can get beyond it, but you're still going to have it. You're still the individual human that you are. You're not, but you're also the bodhisattva that you are. So both at the same time, you can transcend it. How do you transcend it? You satsang. You basically pay attention to the life and the world that you have and look at the interconnections. And then you follow through with that, with everything in the best way possible at that time. It's key. So you're unfolding with everything in coordination. So, and as you're doing that, you may have a couple of cases of ramen in the back of your car, which is perfectly fine. You still have that karma there. But you're also being intentional of it, of saying, oh, okay, the next time I buy a shirt, I'm not going to buy 5 of them. I'm going to buy 3 or 2. You're both. And, I'm trying to think of something. You're both individual and universal at the same time. They all I want to say that they commingle, they work together.
The one in the many.
Huh?
The one in the many.
Yes. Does that answer your question?
What question?
Good enough. Thank you very much.
Other things in this room? Questions, comments? How about folks at home? And I'm gonna ask Doju to kind of manage because you can see a little better than you can. Folks at home, questions, comments, things to offer today?
I guess they're all karma-free.
We're filled with Dharma for today. All right. Shall we move into our closing chant?
Yes, we can.